Before you are quick to comment, please note that this video is not me saying that Lady Danbury as a character is unnecessary within the story, or that I don't like seeing her every season bringing her sass, her verve, and the sheer immensity of her personality to play. I don't think I've hidden it on my channel that I am a big fan of Agatha Danbury. Matter of fact, if the show wants to do a spin off where all we see is Lady Danbury wanking idiots with her cane every 2 seconds as she curses the declining intelligence of the members of the ton, I will be sat, popcorn in hand, having a blast. I can watch Ajua read a newspaper and be utterly entertained. So, no, that isn't what this video is about. What I instead want us to think about is the why of her presence. Because you see, all through seasons 1 to 3, we were given fairly somewhat credible reasons for Lady Danbury's presence in the show, particularly in her interactions with the Bridgertons and why she's so involved in their lives. And I guess with season 4 dropping in 3 months from now, it's had me thinking if it's not possible that just because Netflix and Shondaland are well aware of how big a fan favorite Agatha Danbury is, they might not force feed her into the season that she should ideally take a step back from, which might just create a situation where the audience doesn't appreciate her presence as we should, because somewhere in the backs of our minds we are asking ourselves, did she really need to be there? And what birthed the thought for this video was me taking the suggestions of one of my commenters to heart and starting my rewatch of season 3 just to better understand the character of Colin Bridgerton in the season without the preconceived notion I'd had of how his story should play out, which I am going to admit colored just how not so well received his arc was to me in the season. I still stand by a lot of what I said about the season and about Colin, but I do see elements of how I might have been a tad bit too harsh on him. Just a tad bit, mind you. But anyway, I'm doing my rewatch of Bridgerton season 3, and during this rewatch, a part of me is still miffed at the changes made in the relationship between Lady Danbury and Penelope Featherington, which I will address in another video soon. Maybe next week's video, if something else doesn't pop in my mind first. But as I was saying, whilst a part of me was miffed at the changes made between her relationship with Pen, I was very much thrilled at the fact that they gave her a plot line set apart from the Bridgertons that gave us a deeper insight into Agatha's younger years and the estrangement she has with her brother, which was tied to her horrible marriage to Lord Danbury that she had tried and failed to get out of thanks to her brother's childish meddling. It meant we got a deeper insight into who Agatha was, and I really appreciated it because I am not going to lie. I've hit that bit of fatigue where it seems like all Lady Danbury does is revolve around the Bridgertons and their issues, and I just keep yelling in my own head, Agatha Danbury is too much of a bad bitch to keep being pulled into this family's mess, damn it. It's given Bonnie from the Vampire Diaries, and I think the reason why we are stuck with that is because Bridgerton cannot get over the start of Lady Danbury's relationship with the Bridgerton kids. And nope, I am not referring to her affair with Violet's father, Lord Ledger, as we established within the show that even though Agatha is very much aware of Violet's identity and might have a fondness for her, her relationship with the Bridgerton household didn't go that deep until her ward Simon returned to the ton, and with his return and him having taken on the dukedom due to his father's passing, he was in need of a bride that was inevitably a Bridgerton, because this is a story about that particular family. As such, Lady Danbury's involvement in the Bridgerton family's shenanigans in the first season was justified. She was there trying to make sure that Simon doesn't screw up what she considers a splendid match and trying to keep Anthony's busybody ass from interfering with said splendid match as well. And after Simon and Daphne got together and were altar bound until the Queen's meddling looked like it was going to put a stop to it, she's the one that gave the lovebirds the information they needed on how to proceed with winning Queen Charlotte over to their side so she can give them permission to marry with haste. Of course, Simon doesn't exactly make the case like she had told him to, but it was a launching pad for him to put forward his argument, and the end result was the same. After that was achieved, she took a couple of steps back narratively, only stepping forward to bring Daphne, who is now family to her, into their fold of married women who get to have time to themselves, gossiping and gambling and having a blast away from the prying eyes of the rest of the ton, whilst they build connections with one another in the secret halls that no one else is privy to. Her actions is what gives Daphne the information she needs to be able to find out about the father of Marina's child as she tries to resolve that particular issue. And of course, there's the ball at the end of the season with her appearance in it. Season 2 puts Lady Danbury right in the thick of things as she is the one who introduces the Sharma sisters to London society as she houses, clothes and sponsors them for the new London season due to her close relationship and friendship with Mary Sharma. Her involvement in Anthony's courtship of Edwina, even as she notices what is going on between he and Kate and tries to advise the younger girl to no avail, is one that makes sense within the story being told since she's somewhat actively involved in the romance. It's not to the extent of her matchmaking ways in season 1, of course, because Simon is her ward, and the same can be said for Anthony Bridgerton, but the Sharma sisters are under her care, so it makes sense that she gets to play such a prominent role in the season. I'm sure at this point you probably know where I'm going with this. By season 3, the crack starts to show, especially because the one time when Bridgerton could take inspiration from the books the show is based off of and use the opportunity to properly flesh out Lady Danbury's close relationship with Penelope and what that friendship says about the both of them, they dropped the ball. Once again, I will go into further detail on what we lost out on due to this change and why I don't agree with Jessie's choice to lose it and the reason she had given for making that change. Anyway, we don't get Lady Danbury's involvement in Penelope and Colin's relationship, as instead, the season's focus is on her troubles, particularly her estrangement from her brother. Which, like I stated earlier, is a change I absolutely adore because I do want to see more of Lady Danbury outside of her playing fairy godmother for the Bridgertons. Except, of course, this new information we get of her is tied to Violet Bridgerton's romance with her brother, which directly contradicts Jessie's claim of wanting to take her out of that matchmaking role. But anyway, outside of us having the troubles with her brother, Lady Danbury also serves the role of directing Queen Charlotte's attention to the potential of Francesca Bridgerton, which is why Fran is named the season's diamond. Now, why did I take us all on this walk down memory lane? Well, it's because I needed to establish what Lady Danbury's role has been in the seasons of Bridgerton so far. Season 1 and 2 were her strongest tie into the main story, where every scene with her drove the story itself forward, whether it is the advice she's given the characters involved or in what she notices of their feelings that they are trying to hide. Season 3 for me is where the crack starts to show and where we start to get the confirmation that there is a possibility that because of Lady Danbury's fan favorite status and position, Bridgerton as a show might be utilizing her in ways that do not necessarily serve the role she's meant to play. Because with season 3 done and now that we've seen her patch her relationship with her brother Marcus, unless season 4 we see her get herself a beau, which I doubt because at the end of Queen Charlotte, Agatha Danbury makes it quite clear that she has no interest in being bound to a man now that she can enjoy the power and freedom that she gets by virtue of her being alone, which damn straight Agatha. So with romance not necessarily being in her future and her issues all resolved with her sibling, unless there's another sibling we don't know about, it brings me back to the crux of this video. What role would Agatha Danbury serve in Bridgerton season 4 then? Because minor spoilers, but Lady Danbury really isn't connected to Sophie and her family in any way. So that can be how she's brought in. And while she's friendly with Benedict Bridgerton when she runs into him at balls and loves to tease him, he's not her ward in the way Simon is. So she has no reason to be invested in his match or his search for the woman with the silver mask. And no, Queen Charlotte is not going to be naming Sophie the diamond of the season, because that is done when all the young ladies are introduced to her at the start of the season. And for reasons which I'm not going to go into because of spoilers, Sophie is not going to get that opportunity or introduction. And like I said in an earlier video, with Queen Charlotte's matches always falling through, her matchmaking gag is one that has gotten pretty stale at this point, to the extent that the show either has to give Queen Charlotte a win or have her stop attempting to matchmake her season's diamond, since she always calls it wrong. And if that is the case, then that means that Queen Charlotte's role within the upcoming season runs the risk of being redundant as well. And considering that helping her with deciding on the season's diamonds and attempting to matchmake them is something that Lady Danbury occasionally helps Queen Charlotte with in her role in the seasons, that is yet another instance where season 4 legit might have Lady Danbury either with nothing to do or with a forced storyline that I just suspect I would absolutely hate. Because like I stated earlier, Adjoa is such an incredible actress, and I would watch her just lording over the rest of the town for an entire hour. So instead of forcing her into story beats that make no sense or trivialize the importance of her character and the gravitas that she holds, I would be perfectly alright with them either keeping her out of the season she doesn't need to be in, or just having her exist on the periphery, being frightening on the edges of the story, just like we know her to be and adore her for. And I think this is definitely something that the Bridgerton writers have to consider, because after Benedict and Sophie's story is Eloise's story. And even if they find a way to try and make Lady Danbury's subplot fit into season 4 in some way, even though part of what the fandom has been begging them for is for them to streamline the many subplots so that more time can be spent on the main couple who are meant to be central to each season. So even if they find a way to make Lady Danbury's subplot fit for season 4, there is absolutely no way they are pulling that off for season 5, because very mild spoilers here, but Eloise's romance doesn't even take place in London. She's far away from all the bustle of the London season, and it will be very jarring if the time spent away from her, rather than it happening amidst her family as they try to process what it means that she isn't around. If it sounds like I'm being purposefully vague, it's because I am, as I don't want to spoil the happenings of To Sir Philip with Love for those of you who haven't read the book yet. But as I was saying, it would be very jarring if instead of spending the few time we are away from her with her family as they deal with the ramifications of her not being around, we instead spend it with Lady Danbury. Unless at this point she's full on moved into Bridgerton house, which we know is quite improbable. But what it does have me wondering though is, would you prefer that Bridgerton still continue to keep Lady Danbury on even after her role has become redundant, or would you rather they maintain the integrity of her character and only bring her when it's absolutely necessary for them to do so? And before anyone says I'm trying to put Adjoa out of work, please note that we can have at least 2 balls every season, which means that there would be at the very least 2 episodes where we can see Lady Danbury in a setting that fits her character, and we get to have our Adjoa fix. Of course, I would love to hear your responses to my questions, so please do drop them in the comments. Or if you just want to send hearts my way, please do so as well, as today legit kicked my ass. And this is like the 3rd time I'm recording this video. And I think I've gotten to the point in my life where I need to start working in more naps into my day. Like this video if you've watched this far and haven't done so yet. Share this if you want to support me on Patreon if you can. If you can't, however, do consider checking out my other channels. One of them is my gaming channel and the other holds my ASMR content. I have them both linked in the description box if they sound like something you might be interested in. Whichever the case may be, however, I will see you tomorrow with a new video. Until then, do remember, obsessing over the things you love, perfectly valid coping mechanism.